Hey, today I'll be talking about episodes 43 through 45 of YanXi Palace. We are officially back in the harem. Shen is not the least bit worried about Yingluo's return, and is in fact excited to use her as a tool to fight Shun. She decides to start her off in the derelict YanXi Palace. Yu is now a consort and has allied herself with Chun. She seems to be 100% on board with helping Chun get rid of the arrogant Yingluo, though Chun has her suspicions.
妹妹说的可是真心话。
Yeah, I'm also guessing Yu is just acting out of necessity, because how would you turn on the woman who literally saved your life and the life of your infant son? Yingluo is brought to her new abode. It's far from the center and in a state of disrepair. Worse still, two of the maids granted to her used to work with her and Mingyu back at Changchun Palace. One is overly friendly with her and calls her by her name instead of her title. This seems to have been purposely arranged by someone. With them there, people can't help but be reminded of her previous position and will have a hard time seeing Yingluo as Noble Lady Wei. Yingluo knows better than to fall for a trick like this and advises Mingyu to be as gracious as possible. The only way this plot wins is if they let it get to them. Since there's no chance of the Emperor coming to see her, Yingluo focuses her attention on the Empress Dowager, who seems to like her a lot. She finds her quick wit and humor a breath of fresh air. The Emperor can't visit his mother without seeing her, making it difficult to completely ignore her as he'd clearly planned on doing, though he does make a valiant effort. Then Yingluo decides to pretend to be sick. Having become accustomed to seeing her every time he visited his mother, the Emperor takes notice and can't help but take the bait. That night, he goes to see her just as things come to a head with Yingluo and her old maid co-worker.
好烫，吹吹不就行了？
Yingluo would normally let her attitude slide, but today she drags it out, making sure that the Emperor can hear just how rudely she treats her.
那就别喝了，奴才这就拿去倒。
Again, this guy loves kicking people. The Emperor has her caned 80 times and kicked out of YanXi Palace, the perfect way to get rid of her without getting her hands dirty. They beat her bloody and Mingyu makes sure everyone knows what she did wrong and what will happen to anyone else who does the same. The Emperor is now hooked and can't keep himself from returning to YanXi Palace the next night. This time, he finds her sleeping in a treehouse. I guess morning time is over as they spend the night together. And I must say, I admire the confidence to just go at it in this truly wide open space. He goes to see her for the next 2 nights as well. Of course, the women start to complain to the Empress, saying Yingluo is stealing all of the Emperor's attention and she needs to do something about it. Meanwhile, Yingluo just continues to focus on herself and continues to use her wits to come up with ways to stay on the Emperor's mind. She makes sure to keep herself busy, knowing that the best way to get the Emperor to think about her is to pretend she isn't thinking about him. The Emperor is putty in her hands. After 3 months of this, the other women can stand it no longer and begin to fight her directly. Jia's sister, whose last name is of course also Jia, Jia too finds some arbitrary excuse to accuse her of misconduct and make her kneel out in the sun. No worries though, if there's one thing Yingluo knows how to do, it's kneel. Jia too and the other women also start complaining to the Emperor that Yingluo has become haughty and rude after getting so much attention from him. If I ever make some kind of list to be a successful consort, being able to cry on cue is absolutely number 1. The Emperor decides to stop seeing Yingluo so often, but rather than come and see him and beg him for attention, Yingluo just pretends not to care. The Emperor finally gives up and goes to see her, only to find her completely carefree. He even goes so far as to send her presents, which she totally ignores. Throwing a tantrum, he insists he won't see her again and has her nameplate removed. The other women start to ease up as they figure Yingluo is on her way out, which really shows how little these women know their husband. The Emperor is down bad. I thought at least Chun would know him better than this. Anyway, a few days later, the Emperor is once again the one to give in and he goes to see her. He says he sees through her ploy and knows she's only acting like this to keep his attention.
你以为朕看不穿你的诡计？
I mean, okay, but you're still falling for it, so...
弄疼你了，朕这没使劲儿啊。
These two are ridiculous. After some fooling around, the Emperor comes out and tells his staff that Yingluo will be promoted to Imperial Concubine. Finally, almost 3 years since he left, it's time for Fu Heng's return to the capital. He did very well leading his troops and the Emperor is more than happy to welcome him back. First, he returns to his mother, Qing, and his new son. Hey, what the hell, aren't you supposed to be in your room? For obvious reasons, he's not too interested in meeting this kid or talking to Qing, and I can only imagine what this looks like to his mom. Like, honey, you just got home. Will you say hello to your wife and son? Desperate to get his attention, Qing blurts out that Yingluo has married the Emperor, and he rushes off to the palace. Before he can ask her in person, he sees the proof himself in one of my all-time favorite no-dialogue scenes. When he gets home that night, it's clear that he's never forgotten her. He confides in Qing, that maid that he saved, that all of the risks he took in battle were so that the emperor would owe him a favor and he could ask for Yingluo's hand. Damn, that is so sad. And it's definitely too late. And I don't think Yingluo would have said yes.
姐姐曾经说过，说我一定会很后悔。我现在就真的很后悔。
Finally seeing a way to drive a wedge between Yingluo and the emperor, Chun begins to spread rumors about Yingluo and Fu Hong's relationship. And as if to add merit to the rumors himself, Fu Hong goes to see Yingluo in private. She purposely doesn't send her maids away so it doesn't look like she's hiding anything, but word does still get to Chun. Yingluo lays it out clearly for Fu Hong. She hasn't thought of him once since that day in the snow, and they are now essentially strangers. She says he is causing her trouble and he should stay away from her and put her out of his mind. Easier said than done for Fu Hong.
我没有办法不想着你，我没有办法不关心你。
Chun finds some excuse to bring the emperor over and, of course, they see Yingluo and Fu Hong. He leaves without waiting for an explanation and then, of course, instead of talking to her like a rational adult, he starts ignoring her and taking her things away. The servants of YanXi Palace begin to worry about their futures and one of them is caught stealing Yingluo's things. He promises not to do it again and she forgives him. But then he goes to see Jia Tu's maid and it becomes clear that this was not a simple theft for money. He hands over a hairpin he managed to sneak out in his sleeve.
答应我的。
As part of a surprise for the Empress Dowager, Chun sets up some stalls in the palace. They are meant to mimic the style of a shopping street in Jiangnan, since it's not possible for her to actually go and experience it. The shoppers are actually eunuchs and maids in disguise. I love the idea of all these eunuchs and maids coming up with their backstory so they can play the extras, and they are all so committed to their roles. There are people actually buying and selling stuff with, I guess, fake money. And also, where did these kids come from? As they walk, the Empress begins to talk about making donations to help the people struggling after the war, making Chun's grand gift, while fun, look a bit shallow and wasteful. Conversation is interrupted by a noisy wine peddler. They find Yingluo completely devoted to her role as a lowly street merchant. The Emperor and the Empress Dowager both find her hilarious, the other women, not so much. Though actually, in this sea of bitter faces, look at Qing. I love that she's always just here for a good time. The Emperor drinks some of her wine and leaves her one of his pendants as payment. Later, he finally comes to see Yingluo and, still filled with a thespian spirit, she puts on a little play, acting out all of the things he must have been hearing about her from the other women over the last few days.
令嫔喜欢栀子花，傅恒大人也喜欢栀子花，世上哪有这么巧的事啊？
She's pretty good. She makes it clear, though it should have been clear from the beginning, that she has no intention of having an affair and they are only trying to drive the two of them apart. She asks him to trust her more, and just like that, they're back. Let me get my gripes out of the way first because I really did have a lot of fun watching this part. Does Yingluo like the emperor? I mean, I truly think Yingluo meant it when she said she was done with Fu Hong, and I don't think she still harbored any thoughts of being his wife, let alone concubine under Qing. But with the emperor, I mean, all of these tricks are to keep him interested, to make sure she keeps getting promoted and stays safe, but does she actually like being with him? I feel like they're kind of avoiding the topic because really, there's no reason for her to have fallen in love with this man that she hated when she left. The man partly responsible for the death of her dear sister and wholly responsible for the death of her first love. So now she's just over those things and happy to be in his arms? It's fine if she is, I just don't think she is, which makes watching her with the emperor a bit sad. Which is what it seems like Mingyu is feeling. It's clear that Mingyu, who knows her better than most, believes she's faking it and feels guilty about the sacrifice Yingluo made for her. Because I mean, is this the face of someone who just consummated a marriage with someone they want to be with? Our bright and fearless Yingluo, though still bright and fearless, seems less like she's enjoying her life and more like she's resigned to it, which is literally everything the Empress didn't want for her. It's in the back of my mind whenever I see these two together because it then feels like all her smiles and fun actions are really just self-defense. She has to be funny, she has to be entertaining because her life depends on it. To me, it tastes of tragedy, but then we get happy background music and cute sound effects as if we're all having a good time. So I guess I'm just confused. And then there's Fu Hong. Oh my goodness, Fu Hong. The tension in that scene when he returns and the emperor offers to reward him with whatever he'd like.
皇上，无论奴才想要什么，您都会给吗？
I guess I just gotta let it go because if I think of them with a blank slate, they are hilarious and very fun. The emperor has finally met his match and as much as he sees through what she's doing, he just can't help himself. I also love that the Empress Dowager sees what's up as well and she's just having a grand old time watching from the sidelines. I think this is the kind of Empress Dowager I would have been. After a lifetime of scheming, you made it. You are at the top. Don't waste the last few years of your life quibbling for more power. Enjoy your days being entertained by your 35 daughters-in-law. She is the least constrained woman in the palace, and it's nice to see an Empress Dowager that actually looks like she's making the most of it. Till next time, thanks for watching.